Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast. Once again, thank you so much for returning, and thank you to those who subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please click that button so I can continue to bring you great artists like the ones I have today. Speaking of return visitors, we have Parker Halub and Leo Unnermark once again from Wings of Steel. Great Los Angeles-based traditional heavy metal band. They're bringing that all back again, and we love to hear that. Founded by Parker and Leo in 2019, Wings of Steel, they released their self-titled debut EP in 2022, and in May of 23, Wings of Steel released a full-length kick-ass record called Gates of Twilight. It's one of my favorite records ever by somebody in this genre. It's just incredible. Now the band is set to release a live collection called Wings of Steel Live in France, which will be available worldwide on December 13th. Parker, Leo, it's awesome to have you, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome what a beautiful introduction, man. It's great to be back with you.
Man, it is, I just love that Gates Twilight record. It lives with me. There's not really a week goes by where, I don't pop it on for a whole day, man. It's so great. And to hear that stuff come alive, I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. I see you guys in clips. It sounds just as great live. And I see the band there, and I know how you guys record. It's you two guys really and a drummer, and then you bring in that live band. So some questions there. I'm watching these clips and it's so tight. And there's twin harmony guitars and shit like that where it has to be spot on, and it is. So my questions, I guess, right away are: the guys in the band, how often do you rehearse with these guys? It's got to be often because it's spot on, like I say, so tight. And do you have any other permanent members of the band, or will they just be for the live show?
Well, you might think that we'd be rehearsing often, but actually, so in anticipation of the tour that we did, we got two new guys. So we got a new drummer by the name of Marcel Binder, and Matthew Trobeck is the new bass player. Same rhythm guitar player as we've been using all this time, Mr. Stefan John Biley. And so we went out there just a couple of weeks before we started the tour, and I think we had like 4 or 5 rehearsals or something like that. Of course, everyone had already been practicing the songs, but we just want to make sure we can nail it together as a group. And then I think we really grew as a unit throughout the tour. And I think that's a really authentic way to grow your sound. But I think it came together really well. The guys were really tied. Of course, it helps a lot that they all love the music, which is, the fundamental aspect of it. I'm very happy with the way it came together. And hopefully we'll, if we can overcome the hurdles of the visas and stuff like that, because they're both out in Europe, including myself as well. If we can overcome that hurdle, it would be great to continue to play with them.
Yeah, awesome. Now, Parker, that twin guitar thing that you guys, I listened to Gates of Twilight. Like I say, it's one of my favorite records. Garden of Eden, one of my favorite songs in the genre, maybe ever. When that comes up, it starts with a twin guitar thing. It kicks off, and then the double time into the solo, and so there's a lot of coordination with band members in these songs, is my point. You have a rhythm guitar player fairly new to the band, right? I mean, in the live setting, how difficult was that to mesh together and put out the music the way you wanted to put it out?
Well, I mean, it takes time to get everything, so that's Stefan, and he's out of the other 3 guys in the band. He's played with us pretty much since the beginning. So he's
okay.
So yeah. But yeah, I mean, luckily he's also out here in LA with me. So it's really easy for us to just kind of link up and get together, and we can run through the parts a little extra without having to bring the other 3 guys in. Because sometimes like a lot of those harmony parts, when it's all the leads and everything, like I mean, sometimes those can take a lot more. Those can take just as much time to coordinate to get it all dialed in and perfect as like the rest of the song does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, but I think we managed to get it dialed in, and I mean, it's never lead guitar playing is very, very nuanced, so it's hard to get it like perfect, 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 perfect.
Mhm.
That's like that's a very steep question for any two guitar players. Doesn't matter who they are, but yeah, I think we put in the time, we get it dialed in, and I think it comes out pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I say, I watch you in these live clips, and man, oh man, and they're complex parts. It's not like it's a two-step kind of three-chord thing. It's really complex music to play. It comes across so good live. So live in France is the new record. Why do a live record at this point? What was there any inspiration, any catalyst to get you to do this live record?
Well,
Well, to take it back a long
but
time,
but
I think when me and Parker met, we already knew that at some point we wanted a live album. We probably wanted a live DVD at some point too, you know. But funnily enough, we had no idea that this show, because this is all from one show, we had no idea that this show was being recorded at all.
Really?
And so the guy we work with in France that set up the shows, he came up to us after the show and he told us that, just so you know, guys, I recorded this. So if you want to make like a live album or something, we got the audio for you. We're like, oh, cool. All right. So we had
Wow.
it sent over, polished it up a little bit, made sure it sounds good, like you're actually there in the venue. So it's literally as raw as you can possibly get it, considering the band didn't even know it was going on.
yeah. So the whole thing just yeah, it was a nice happy accident, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fate,
So,
man. That is
mhm,
fate right there. That's
mhm.
way cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, when you say polish it up, was it a soundboard recording that he had?
Yeah, it was literally just the raw audio going into the board. So like when we say polish it up, it's like okay, when you just have like the raw like drums and raw guitar and voice and everything, like there's no reverb and delay and any of that stuff that you would normally hear when you're standing there in the venue and you have it. So like
Right.
that's we put it in there so that when it's mixed, like it feels like you're actually standing there. It's a little bit of a better representation of the sound.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like recreated, so it's realistic to how it actually was.
mm.
Man, that's cool. I can't wait to hear it, man. I'd love to be standing in France watching you guys. That would be great. This is live in France. It's from that one show, all from the same show. Um, I mean, I was going to say, how did you decide on the France performance other than the rest? Did you record any of the shows? Was this completely a happy accident? Any of the other shows recorded by you?
No, no. I mean
No.
this was literally like we weren't even planning on it. Because I think there's two ways to do a live record. Is I think had we had like a more of an intention to do a live record, what we probably would have done is we would have recorded multiple shows, so
Right.
that you could have because that's typically what most bands do, and then instead of having to just choose from one take from one show, you can we this song at this show was really good, but this song from this show was really good. So, and I think
Yeah.
that's maybe a little more ideal way to do it. But yeah, it was totally just incidental. I mean, there was 11 other shows on that tour. We got some from the Keep It True festival. We did get some footage there. We have a couple songs. Um, and then the rest is yeah, I mean, just whatever people took on their phones, but that's it. So
Yeah, but I will say like it is a happy accident because even though there might be benefits to getting one song from that set, one song from that set, and it's cool for the people who were there too at those shows to like re-experience it. I will say like you cannot get a more authentic raw experience than when it's all just taken from the same show. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I agree. And, I see so much today, people go to live shows and it's just this analytical kind of thing where people are watching for this and this wasn't quite that great and this wasn't, or this was better than this. And, I'm thinking, I don't know. I go to a live show and I'm absorbed in there, man. I'm part of the crowd, but I'm part of the band too. And we're all one and I don't expect it to
Hmm.
be I expect it to be sweaty and a little raw and wrong sometimes and just urgent. There's I want it to have some urgency and that the singer's jumping around, he doesn't get quite back to the mic quite fast enough, and he misses the first word of the next verse. That's fun. I like that. And I see a lot of people that are complain about those types of things, and I'm like, you're kind of missing the live experience. So I love that rawness, I love that fun of the
Hmm.
show. I don't expect it to be perfect. I don't know if I want it to be perfect. And here,
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen Rush a million times. Rush, one of my favorite bands of all time. They're
Hmm.
perfect. Live, they were perfect. But it's not the same. It's just not the same. Not to say that I don't like Rush live, because I do, but it doesn't have that rock and roll fun
Yeah.
uh energy to it. Really, it's a whole different ball of wax. And the traditional metal, I think what you guys do, I love to hear that raw thing. But here you've got all these songs from the same show. It goes to show uh how tight you are live. Because I mean, you might listen to one song in a show, a lot of bands, and say, "I'm not putting that out, man. That's just boy, would we screwed that up," or whatever. You guys don't have that. It's this is solid. It's a solid performance all the way through, and not too many bands can do that, and it's really
Hmm.
great to have it from you guys. Damien Renault uh, mixed and mastered the record. Frenchman living in LA. It's live in France. you know, so I had questions when I
It
saw
lined
that.
up great. It worked out great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did Damien have anything? Did he get involved? His involvement have anything to do with the decision to record in France? I guess not, right? It just had another happy coincidence accident.
Yeah, it's a great coincidence. Yeah, honestly.
It's great, man. This is all these things that point to fate with this record. It's really cool. Leo, I hear your vocals way up in the stratosphere, man. And then songs. I mean, I will go back to Garden of Eden, where you hit lows, you hit highs, and everything in between. And there's just so much body to the voice and emotion. It's very emotive, just great to listen to. Um, but I see a lot of singers in later years struggling to hit those highs, especially. Is that something you think about when you're writing? I'm not, I may not be able to do this 10, 20 years from now. Maybe I should bring it down a little. You don't seem to be doing that when you write. Is that something you train for? I know you're a trained singer. Do you consider that when you write new music for the band?
Um, I think both yes and no. I think the most important thing in writing any song is that you feel like you are completely free with what you choose to write. So like I don't want to feel like I have this great idea, but because it's too high or too low or whatever, I shouldn't put it on the album because in 40 years I might not be able to do it. So I'm not gonna do that. Because if we look at some of our favorite albums, they put their hearts and souls into it, and they were singing or performing at the top of their capabilities, and that's what makes those albums so great. So I think you have to do that. It's like a balance, right? So there have been certain instances where there are people with no choices, where it's like, all right, I do realize that this is like ridiculously high. Maybe if I go to something that is like also really, really high, but maybe I can accomplish the same thing. So like I do have it in mind, but I try to not let it impact the end result of the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and Parker, when you're writing together, does that ever cross your mind? You know, what are we going to do in 15 years when we're on a tour, or 20 years, and uh, everybody's not 20 anymore, and when you're writing that stuff, it's I don't know. It's back to the live thing, I guess. This is a complaint I hear from a lot of people. Or maybe not a complaint, but comments on bands now where the singers aren't hitting those notes, or and it's like, I don't know. It's again, it's we had that, and just for the band to be there, and if they're intense and urgent, I'm okay with it. But for you,
Well, yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say to that is like I do think there's a lot of examples of musicians out there who were really good when they were young, and then as they got older, they didn't really do so good. But there's also examples of musicians who got old and they still kick ass. Look at Bruce Dickinson.
yep.
This dude has cancer. He's like almost 70, and he's out there and he's like totally killing it with his voice. So like, and it's the same. There's plenty of guitar players like that too. So, I mean, for me, especially like as a guitar player, sure, there's plenty of other factors that can influence how well I play. But I mean, it's not like, okay, I got a cold and now I can't play. It's like,
Right.
like my fingers will still work. It'll suck, but I'll still, unless I'm like really, really sick. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm the same way. I just think, you know what, like when we were writing the music, every single last level from the top to the bottom of my capability should be fair play, because those are all just different colors that we paint the music with, and so I think at the same time, it's good music is not about how many different colors you throw in there. It's about good music. The end result remains the same, but at the same time, like if you want that specific color, that specific flavor in there, like, and you have the capability to use it, you should
Hmm.
use it.
Hmm.
And if 30, 40 years down the line when you're playing live, it somehow becomes maybe a little bit more difficult to use that exact same color, well, there's plenty of ways to figure it out, and to do something that does it still justice. So I'm not really too concerned about that.
And I think another great thing too, if I may interject, is when you go to play something live, while staying true to the essence of the song, it never really sounds the same twice, or at least that's our kind of motto, right? So
Hmm?
when you listen to the live album, you're going to hear that. If you've heard the studio album, it doesn't sound the exact same. There are certain things that are tweaked, some things might be added. It's not that we necessarily planned it out either. That's the most beautiful thing about it. And I think the more you do that, if you treat every live show like it's a fresh thing, the better you get at kind of just flowing with your instrument and where you're at any given day. Like even today, like if I'm a little sick, I might have to tweak my voice a certain way, right? So whether it's I'm old or I'm sick or whatever, like you always have to tweak it to where you're feeling where you're at and where you're flowing with the music. So the more you do that, the better you get with it. And so hopefully that's something that's going to benefit us in the long run as well.
Yeah, and that's cool, and I just you get the spirit of the day, especially when you're on tour. And you guys live in LA, from LA. You're in Europe and you're traveling. It's a different experience. You get the spirit of the day, and your feelings and stuff have to be different, and overwhelming at times and underwhelming at times. So I think all of that should come through, especially in the voice. It's such an emotive instrument, but also guitar playing and things like that. You can feel all of those little tensions of the day when you hit the stage. I want to hear that. I want to hear your day. I want to hear your spirit and your emotion, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want
I,
to
I
hear.
think the key word right there is spirit. I think at least for me, and I think Parker too, it's playing music live is like a spiritual experience. For me, it's kind of like whatever I've gone through, all that just automatically kind of gets checked at the door. Because when I'm on stage, I'm in a space of no time, and I'm sure Parker feels the exact same way. So it's like a spiritual experience. So I think you put it perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't wait to hear it, man. I'm just, this is it's exciting, and knowing the fate of this record, it makes it even more exciting. Um, Tracks, that's another hot issue. I hear a lot of people say, people that are against tracks, they'll say it's okay, like, with backing vocals to fill out the sound, or like a gang vocal thing. Or intros to songs, keyboard parts, and you don't have a keyboard player or something like that. That I kind of get. The gang vocal thing, I'm just not a I'm not, I don't favor tracks. I just don't want, I would rather hear the band sound less full, without a track. I'm not, like I say, I'm not looking for the perfect auditory experience. So what are your views? And you're a band, you want your music to sound like it's supposed to sound, and I am, so I understand all of that. But what are your feelings about stuff like that? With a little bit of track here and there.
I mean, the short answer is that even though like we personally don't use them in our own band, like we're not like vehemently like against using them because there's certainly a huge utility to them, and like it totally makes a lot of sense why you would use them, and it's I think maybe more so on like a style basis. Like, and I mean, there's some parts and some songs that we play live that in the studio, like they have a lot of extra layers. Like they have like maybe a little synth, they have extra backing vocals, extra
Right.
guitar parts or whatever, and like so you have to choose between, okay, like we're just gonna like do it live and let the volume and the extra overtones of the sound on stage try to fill that space out, which that works, and that's how they did it back in the day.
Hmm.
Um, or you say, okay, well, for the sake of doing it justice to the record, we're gonna put it all, we're gonna have a track so that it's all in there, so that when people come to see us live, they're still playing live. It's not like anybody, you're not lip syncing or using the track like that, but
Right.
it's okay. It's just
Hmm.
it's helping to fill out the sound a little bit. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's really tracks for the sake of filling out the sound to do your music justice. I mean, there's also something to be said about when bands play on a track, somebody in the band, if not everybody, needs to have like a metronome that's linked up to the track so that everybody plays to it properly. So
Right.
the benefit to that is it'll keep everybody like it's a lot easier for everybody to play really tight if everybody's got a metronome.
Mhm.
The downside to that is that unless you somehow program it into your track that's playing, you can't really do like a lot of the stops and crescendo retard things at the end, and like you can't really change stuff as much. It doesn't The sound doesn't have as much room to kind of to flow. But
Yeah.
that's not to say like there's totally nothing wrong with doing that. It's just as
Yeah.
long as you're not bullshitting people. If you're going out there and you're a lead vocalist or you're a lead guitar player and you're putting your tracks that and you're basically just lip syncing up there, then it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you're kind of just bullshitting people. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
think it's
You know,
I,
Yeah.
I think it's
So,
and like I agree, like from the standpoint, like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't feel right doing that. It would feel wrong. But I think it depends on what's the purpose of your show, right? Like, are you selling
Mhm.
performance or are you selling an authentic live experience, right? Because there are fans that want to see the authentic live experience and they expect that, and that's what they should get from certain bands. But there are other bands, like if you look at, like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, and I don't mean it in that way, but if you go and look at like Motley Crue, like I don't mind that they use tracks because it further enforces their live show. And a lot
mhm.
of people who come out to see them, they want to see that live show. So I think that's completely fine. I don't understand people who go like, "Oh, you shouldn't play anymore." Like it's more so a show than a raw live, authentic like audio experience, right?
Right.
So I think it's like there's two sides to the same coin. I don't think you need to be like on one or the other side. You have your preference. Some bands do it one way, some bands do it the other way, and that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
And here's the other important point I'll add to that too, and this is kind of more on like the business end of things. And I've actually there was a I remember there was a lot of controversy over this. I think it was a few weeks ago or something. There's this band. I don't really listen to them, but they're called Sleep Token. They're like a newer
Yeah.
band, and they were getting a hell of a lot of heat because I think like something like I think it was like their bass player and or their guitar player, like they just got sick for the show, and they had it was like this huge, arena gig. And so instead of canceling the show, they just put their part on the backing track and they went on with the show. And so this pissed a lot of people off because it's like, well, the band's not even there, but at the
Right.
same time too, you also got to think like when it comes to like touring and stuff, like it's hard. Like if you're on a tour and you're routing and then like one show has to get canceled, like it's kind of a pain in the ass, and sometimes it's not even realistic to reschedule that show to begin with.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people paid a lot of money to get those shows to get to go see that show. Oftentimes you can get refunds, but not always. So like,
Yeah.
from the business standpoint, it was like, well, because we have the technology to run the tracks, like, we can just do this and the fans can still get the show. Everything can go on as planned, and like we can do something instead of having to completely cancel it. So again, like that's for that band, that's for their style of music. But like you gotta like I think people should just try to like see things from that way because that's why they did it. And like from a business end, it makes a lot of sense. If your band is all about, being raw and authentic and live and whatever, then like, okay, yeah, like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think some bands can get away with that with their fan base and their
Mhm,
music. It
mhm.
renders itself to that, and others just can't. I mean, like Maiden wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, everybody would, every single person would be really pissed off. So yeah, I mean, there's a difference in the music and the band and the crowd and everything else. But I remember, the one story that is much like that is I think it was Falling in Reverse. They lost the laptop or whatever, and they canceled the show because they can't play it without the laptop. Which whatever, that's that band again. It's what they do. It's kind of a thing, and it's not unusual. So. But you guys have you're the leaders, one of the leaders of this traditional heavy metal movement that's happening. It's coming back where we're getting bands like Saxon and these all these bands I listened to, Tokyo Blade back in the day, and it's I hear all that stuff in your music, and it's so raw and it's so authentic, and that's what we get from your music and your type of music, and the crowd, the people that listen to this music love that, man. They want the real deal for sure. um you guys are independent. You've always done work independently, done things yourself, managed yourselves, kind of thing, musically and the business side. Have you given any more consideration to signing? Have you had any offers? Anybody, does it come up every once in a while?
Yeah,
Um,
it does come up every now, once in a while, and we do look through any agreements, and we think about things, and we're very like very meticulous with like what's in there, because usually it's in like the fine print, or like it's kind of insinuated, and or it's not, and there's stuff missing. Like we there every now and then we'll get like an offer from someone, and we're still on the same page though as we were from when we started this thing, where it's like we respect our music a lot. We respect what we do a lot. We've put our hearts and souls into this, and the music should be treated with respect. It is a business, but it shouldn't be sold out as a business. Like there are instances in which it's very beneficial to have a label and have everything that a label entails, but only if the label's actually going to push you, and what's their incentive to do so, because that's usually the thing. If you're an up and coming band and they have, there's a label and they have their top artists, like what guarantee can they give you that they're actually going to do anything? And you'll find that usually it's not very much, right? And I'm not saying there's not a deal out there in which there might be an instance in which it could change, but that's what we got to like have clarity on if we were ever going to do something. I'm sure Parker can fill in some more stuff on that.
yeah, I mean to kind of elaborate further on that, it's I actually think that a lot of it comes down to is that generally there's a your core incentive between ours as our core incentive as musicians is we want to write the best music that we possibly can, and we want to share it with as many people as we possibly can. That is our fundamental core goal.
Yep.
Now, if you look at the industry, 9 times out of 10, their first goal, not to say it's their only goal, but their first goal is, well, it's money. Like, that's because it's business, you know. And that's not to say there's a lot of great people in this industry, and we know a lot of them, and there's also some that we don't know yet. But like, it's not, you know, it's, I'm not trying to paint a picture of like, oh, it's, you know, no, a bunch of greed, you know, whatever. Like, that's not what it is. But when you're running a business, like, you know, money is your first thing. So like, is to bring this into with us working with the label, it's basically labels are great because they specialize in creating and pushing out music to the world. That's what they do. And that's great for us because Leo and I, we are the musicians, and that's what we specialize in, writing the music and playing the live shows. That's what we do. But because of the nature of our situation, we also have to do all the business stuff. We have to be our own record label. We have to book our own shows. We have to manage everything ourselves. So having a dedicated entity such as the label to do and handle all that stuff, that's experienced in handling all this stuff, that just right off the bat, okay, that sounds like a pretty good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so now we tie this into the business thing, and you got to think about with labels. So the vast majority of labels have at least several artists. If they're a notable label or they're not a label that's like owned by a band or whatever, like they usually have at least several artists, okay? So the thing is that in order for this label to make money, the record only needs to do so well. It doesn't need to be shot into the stratosphere necessarily. And so a lot of times is that labels will put down the resources to make the record with the artist. And then once the record has gone past a certain point, they say, okay, we've made a good return on this, but we don't have any reason to push this any further. And so then that's it. And the record just kind of now it exists out there. But
because pushing it further from the label side of things might include risk. That's pretty much what.
It's risk, and it costs them more money. And also they say, well, you know, we have 15 other bands. If we just, you know, instead of having one band that blows up to an exponent of 10, if we have 10 bands that blow up to an exponent of 2.5, you make more money. And that's what a lot of the strategy is with the labels. So you circle this all in, and the reason why we haven't worked with the label is because us, when we are our own label, we have the incentive to continue to push our music for way longer to as much of an exponent as we can. So A, there's that, and B, the thing is with labels is that in the vast majority of deals, they give you an advance, and then they also, you agree to a certain percentage royalty of the sales of CDs and music and everywhere where the money comes in. So you agree to a certain percentage, but then they put the advance that they gave you to make the record in the first place against that percentage. So let's say you get 10% royalty, and they give you $10,000 to make the record. Hypothetical, right? That means that in order for you to see a single cent for the record has to gross over $100,000. So which is, the label's making $90K in profit before you see a single cent. So like, I like, that's just how most record deals work, and it is what it is. It's an investment into growing your band. So like, I see it like that, but you know, at the same time too, if they're going to make all this money off of you and then they're going to stop pushing it, well, you think, well, if I did it myself and we were able to keep all that money, we could have used that money to continue pushing it even further. So
and you don't have to sell as many to break even.
And that's the other thing too. So so that kind of sums up where we see things with this. Like, I'll say again, like we're not opposed to working with a record label. It's just the terms and the incentive structure has to be aligned. You know, it needs to be in a way that, okay, like the primary incentive is going to be to push the music as far as possible. That's really what it is. So
Yeah, it's and it speaks to your work ethic, how you guys do things, because planning tours, booking shows, uh, getting visas, and you guys are amazing, man. You do this all yourself, and you push the record, and you get, the vinyl is on delay because there's so many, and we got to ship it here, and we got to ship it there, and we got a distributor, and
I
yeah,
mean, there are people who do this. It's not just us. I will
yeah.
say I'm very happy that we're two people because like it is a lot. Like it takes
Wow.
up all the time that you could possibly have. We don't have time to have like a job on the side. Like this is it. And
Yeah,
obviously, like personally, we don't make a lot of income, so we live very modest lives. But I think we have it pretty good the way we have it. But again, I'm happy we're two.
yeah. I mean, and I myself and so many of fans appreciate what you guys do because you live for the music, literally. And
Well, you guys are the reason we do it. That must be said too. So
it's it's just it's special. It really is special. Because it's not a product. Just a product. It's you. We're getting a piece of you when we get these records, and that's special. I love that. Speaking of that, what can we expect? Have you been writing? Are we gonna get a studio record? What can we expect? An EP, a full length record? Have you started writing yet?
so
yeah.
we
So, okay,
we're
go ahead.
we're trying not to talk about this too much right now because the
Yeah,
live album is coming out
sure.
in like a week, and that's where we want the focus. But so Leo was from I guess what end of August until like beginning of November he came out here, and we've written our next Wings of Steel full length studio record. So it's in the works. It's now we're producing it. We're getting ready to put all the drums on everything now, and uh, yeah. So that'll probably be. We haven't picked an exact date yet, but we're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
sometime August or next September, and then we'll probably put a few singles out before the record is released earlier in the year. But yeah. So that's what we got coming for you.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting, and again, work ethic, man. How do you guys find the time in between all of this to sit down, write, get it all written and recorded? It's crazy. It's
The
really
answer is,
cool.
man, we just didn't have any time to do anything else. We just did that.
I
But
love
at
it,
the
man.
same time, I mean, you spend all year with all the like the logistics around everything. So it's great to get to spend some fucking time with your brother and write some music because that's what it's all about. Like at the root, like that fundamental thing is to sit down with your buddy and fucking write music. That's what it comes down to, and that's a
That's
beautiful thing. And that
mhm.
like that fire still burns. Every time you do it, you feel it.
Well,
I mean,
see,
dude, that's what we built this thing on, man. It's literally just
Right.
him and I sitting down and creating some stuff, man. So,
well,
you
and that's
know,
why it kicks ass. It's back to that spirit thing. It's spiritual, man. When I listen to your records, like I say, I'm getting a piece of you guys, man. And I know you're devoted to each other. You're devoted to the music. You're devoted to the fans. It's I get that, man. It comes through. If you don't hear it, there's something wrong. You put on a Wings of Steel record, you get pure emotion, man. It's a spiritual experience. Really, really special stuff, man. Very cool. Any tour plans? Will we see promote the live record out on the road a little bit? Dates anywhere?
so right now we have three festivals booked next year in Europe. So we're doing next March. We're playing this thing called we're playing Up the Hammers Fest. It's in Athens in Greece. That was going to be
Nice.
really cool.
Yeah.
Then we're doing another one in Germany next June called Iron Fest Open Air, and then we're doing another one in Northern Germany in July called Headbangers Open Air. So we got three really great festivals. We're all really excited to play them, but the plan is to also next June through July we're gonna try to do some headline dates throughout Europe as well, and we're gonna try to come to some countries that we weren't able to get to last time. Um, and then also, there's a lot of we still have to work out our visa situation to make this happen. That's the primary reason why we haven't been able to tour in the US yet.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that by next, like, yeah, early fall, like September, we should be able to finally get around and do a full tour here in the US. So that's the plan right now. We'll be sure to, as soon as things are lined up and booked, we'll announce it so everybody knows about it. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can come back on and tell us about it, man. I would love that, man, because I'm sitting here in Chicagoland area, and I'm waiting for Wings of Steel to show up, man. And
There's a lot of people in Chicago waiting for us,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
We're waiting to get out there, man. Fuck.
it'll be a lot of fun, man. And I know that visa thing. I hear it from every single artist, man, that has some kind of foreign. Bridging that gap, in the States and in Europe and things like that. It's really, really difficult and expensive, I hear. So, yeah, it's get it taken care of. I'll look at it, man, and I look forward to seeing you guys. Wingsofsteelband.com. Pre-order the Live in France digital CD, vinyl. You had an exclusive France edition tie-dye red vinyl, which fortunately, unfortunately, it is sold out, which is really a cool, great thing, man. Congrats on that. Will we see something available like that as a special edition, another tie-dye? You're gonna repress that maybe or something?
Probably not going to repress that one in particular, but
Eh.
we'll definitely be sure to do more exclusive vinyl releases in the future to come.
Yeah,
Mhm. It's
fans
fun.
love
It's
it.
fun to have the special color stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and the fans love it.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. And yeah, we love you guys, man. And anything you guys have, it's like I say, we get a piece of you. It's a spiritual experience, man. We appreciate that. Parker, Leo, man, thank you for being here. And please come back and see me, man. Anytime. My door's always open to you guys.
It'd be our pleasure, man. You're a great dude. It's really good being on with you again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
Thanks for having us on, man. It's good hanging out.
You got it, man. All right. Until next time.
All
See
right.
you guys.
Peace.
Bye.